Hey guys, welcome back. All right, so you guys did want a part two, I noticed. This is the video that I posted this morning. It was message is about to come through in the next 24 hours. It was really crazy because that storyline, it like I was trying to figure out in the story how swiftly with this happening, and we had like 2 9s, and I was like, okay, so is it the 18th? And I was like, oh, that's today. So with that in mind, we're going to do a part two on this. If you didn't see part one, that video is posted. It's in the collective playlist, or the playlist that's called collective, and it is titled message is about to come through in the next 24 hours, and this is part two of that. So what I said we'd do, if you guys wanted it, is we'd take a look at what the conversation actually might entail. I'm not going to do much of a recap here, just to remind you guys where we left off in part one this morning. Was there was a King of Swords who was like, I need to talk to her. And in this case, it was a Queen of Wands. And it was as if their life had not really been their own. And they looked at her as a Queen of Wands, like somebody who was never owned by anything, whereas their finances kept them tangled up, or, kind of kept them feeling owned somehow. And that was very opposite with how her life had been going. Hi, guys. Nice to see you all. So with that in mind, she had just reached the point where she was like, you know what? I'm never going to hear from this person again. I'm over them. I just want to move on, focus on my own goals. And that's like the exact moment that this King of Swords is now reaching out, simply because they've got to go ahead and say she was always their 10 of Cups. However, I thought it was interesting that she was like braced for, like, if I ever did hear from them, it would probably be something nasty, which I thought was a weird twist in that story. But then we also saw, we hadn't reached the point where they were actually interacting yet. And I had left it in part one with her kind of saying, like, probably the first thing she'd need to know is, if I'm so great, like, how is it that you stayed away from me all this time? If I'm the person that you really wanted, how would you have, not moved toward me in some capacity? So that was kind of probably going to be where the conversation would begin. But let's begin just a little bit prior to that and say, if this is a message that this divine masculine is sending, that is reaching out, that is, this King of Swords who has loved her for a very long time, how are you? What's your first overture? Okay, so the Tower. So it's going to be big, it's going to be sudden, and it is going to be like he's laying all ego aside and just presenting some very significant fact to her. I had said, like, it seems like it's going to be at a weird time. I was saying like 2:15, 2:17, and we'd had a couple cards that looked like nighttime. And I was like, I don't know if it's daytime, nighttime. So let's say for the purpose of the story, it's nighttime, because that's what we see. By the time he reaches out to her, it could be an odd time of the night. And it is a message that comes through from him that is very just sincere, very much, I'm laying it all on the line. 10 of Swords. I have no ego. It is all shattered. I don't care how dumb I look. I don't care how I come across. It doesn't matter. My ego is gone. I don't even want an ego anymore. I just want to talk to her, and I just want to tell her some kind of a truth. So this is not him like really floral and thinking out the perfect words. This is 3 of Swords. His first words to her might be like, I've been going crazy without you. I've been utterly, desolate without you. That 3 of Swords says it all. I have had a heartbreak. I am heartbroken. I have been heartbroken since the last time we spoke. I miss you. I mean, it could be as simple as that, as blunt as that. He's not putting up any guardrails. He's not trying to save face. It just is very clear. Very, very, very clear. With the Sun, it's like, not only is he able to say, first off, he's leading with, I have had a broken heart without you, and you were the happiest thing in my life. Plain and simple. There isn't anything else. He may live in an area that has like a lot of brick buildings. It's funny though, because this almost seems like a little like an old town. Even if it's like in a major metropolitan city, there's like definitely an old town, this kind of, quaint, it's like 1800s. We got the red brick. Now I'm a West Coaster, and so like this feels like a Western town to me. Doesn't have to be, but that could give us a location for him. We also see some really pretty tile work back here and what I think of as like a Spanish guitar. So I don't know if that's another little side note here, but perhaps there's something of like a, I'm thinking of like California or something along those lines, but doesn't have to be. This almost looks, I mean, it's a record studio here, but it could also be like a recording studio. I don't know if there's something like that nearby or if there's like an iconic, it used to be something like that. That just might be something to do with location, wherever he's at, wherever he's speaking from. But he's very blunt with her right out of the gate. There's no, tiptoeing around. There's no holding back on anything here. He just needs to speak the truth to her. Okay. So you are being very vulnerable and very straightforward. I think that's a great starting point, especially in a story like this. And wouldn't you know it, this is the same Queen of Wands that came out in part 1, right? So he is not only reaching out with her or to her with great respect, but he's also telling her point blank he would give anything to be, that lion-lioness relationship. That he is point blank saying she's the most beautiful person he's ever met. She's the person he's always wanted to be with. Wow. Boy, he just said pretty much everything other than why haven't I been with you to this point? He's saying everything else. I have been devastated. You were the happiest thing I ever came across. You were the best part of my life, and you were the person that I've genuinely wanted. Okay. I think all of that is accurate because that is exactly how the story was in part 1. So let's just see, because I want to ask, how is she really going to react? Because we actually saw her saying, I'm done with this. I'm never going to hear from them. I'm not thinking about it anymore. I don't even want to hear from them. But then when I asked in part 1, we did actually have her admit with the 6 of Cups that she actually would have liked to hear from them, but just didn't believe she would. And if so, she thought it would be something mean. We'll come back to that part. But how is she actually going to feel? Her first, and I always think that a knee-jerk reaction, or like, how they always say, if you want to know how you really think about something, spit out what's the first thing that you think of when, if somebody says a word to you, what's your first association? Like if somebody said coffee, I'd be like heaven. Like coffee. I love coffee. It like makes my life better. I have always loved it, just the smell of it. I love coffee. It's such a huge, I have no idea why, but it's always since I was like 2. That's my thing. So when you first think of a word, what do you think of next? Or when she first hears their voice on that phone, what's her first reaction? You notice she's like, her heart comes forward first. There is a softness. She remembers instantly that she loved them. And I would say, even if it's just that I remember how I felt I loved them, I remember I loved them. Even if it's just that, I will still say that it is her heart comes front and center. So that could certainly be like, okay, her reaction is probably true. And then the next thought is, but I moved on from you. I made peace with the fact that I had to move on from you. So you see the two, I'll say, conflicting messages. Her first surge is, I love them. I remember how I loved them. I love them still. And I moved on from them so I could get my peace. I think that also tracks with how we saw her, mindset and where she's been mentally. So I don't think that's a surprise at all. What are your first words going to be to him? 4 of Swords. Might be exactly that. You left me no choice but to put the lid on this coffin and nail it shut. I've had to heal from what happened. I had to find a way to not keep this like oozing pain open in my life. I haven't talked to you in so long. You didn't talk to me. So what choice do you think I had other than to put the coffin lid back on this and say that this relationship was dead and gone? Queen of Wands in the reverse. The very next thing might be, she says, you think I'm the Queen of Wands? You got a funny way of showing it. Because if you say that I was so fabulous, I was the one you wanted so much, why'd you treat me like I was nothing? Why'd you treat me like I was some, I wasn't worth anything? This is a huge, like, oh, that's a self-worth thing. It was like, could you have insulted me more? Could you have told me more that apparently I wasn't hot enough, pretty enough, attractive enough, interesting enough to keep you wanting to even converse with me? Like, she's just basically gonna say the truth of it. I moved on because this is how you treated me. So you can say this all day, but what you did was this exact reverse of what you're saying you felt about me, which again is exactly that message that we were seeing in part one. Whitman Clan, you angel, thank you so much. Thank you guys for giving this a thumbs up. Whitman Clan, thank you for reminding me to mention that. You guys are so lovely. Thank you so much for supporting the channel like that with those little free actions. It makes all the difference to the channel as to whether or not the channel continues. So thank you for subscribing. Thank you for thumbs up. This looks like Seven of Swords. She's saying, so you're telling me that's all lies? Like, oh, you didn't mean to disrespect me, or you never thought that we'd be done. But you let me think that? Like, why would you do that? Why would that have been the lie that you told? You treated me the way somebody treats someone when they don't want them. But you're saying that was just a lie. Why would you have told me that lie? Why treat me like it's over if you never wanted it to be over? If you were hurting over it and I'm the one that you loved so much, make it make sense, that why would you have told me the lie that would hurt me when that's not what you meant? I gotta say, she's making some pretty damn good points on this, right? Like, why would you have done the thing that would hurt me if that's not what you wanted? Two of Swords sideways, and ooh, I don't know that she's saying it out loud, but it's like, I might hang up this phone at any moment and go back to saying, I need to keep my peace. I can't let him. She's thinking about it. And it's probably because as she says this out loud, it's like, exactly, like, why am I even answering the phone? You left me high and dry. You made me feel like you didn't want me. But now you're telling me right out of the gate how much you love me, blah, blah, blah. This is madness. I don't want madness. I don't know what's a lie and what's true, because I don't know why you'd tell lies that would cause me pain. So should I really even listen to this person anymore? She is on the cusp of just like click. Okay, but hold. I mean, look, if she wants to hang up, she can hang up. But her first reaction, I think, is pretty important. Her first reaction was, I loved them. I maybe still have that flood of, I can't help it, I still love them. As soon as I hear their voice, I love this person. That would almost say, then do yourself the favor of hearing the full story. Maybe they are a lunatic and they should not be allowed back in your life, although that is not what we saw in part one, and that is not what we saw so far. But let's just say they are a freaking lunatic. They are, just bringing chaos to your doorstep. But you do need to confirm that for your own sake. So you can say, I loved a freaking lunatic. Dude, never mind. But if she's mostly going to hang up because she's just still hurt, then she's cheating herself out of answers. And the one person on earth who can give her answers is them. So I would just say, unless she's like, I don't need to know anymore, I'm totally good, in which case move on. But I don't think she's totally good in this story. So she needs to do whatever's right for her, though. Okay, let's go back over to him. What are you going to say to her response? Because you're coming in with love, vulnerability, truth, all this stuff. And her response to you, she's not telling you, I love you. She's saying, I moved on from you because I had no choice. And here's how you treated me. So I don't know why you're saying that I'm the Queen of Wands. You didn't treat me that way. What is his reaction to that? Because remember, he may not know that she has a surge of love inside of her heart. So how is he going to respond? 10 of Swords, 9 of Swords. He's going to acknowledge, I don't blame you at all for saying that everything was an awful ending, and that I'm not surprised that you wouldn't even want to talk to me, or that you're letting me know that even this phone call might be stressing you out. I understand that. That's completely, of course, I understand that. Three of Pentacles, but will you hear me out anyway? Can I fill in any of the gaps? I want to fill in the gaps. Page of Wands, Two of Swords. I do feel like if she's willing to hear him out, I think he's going to start the story of, I tried to make it look like everything was good in my life. The snapshot that I showed to you was like all was well. And there was a big old secret. And I thought a lot about trying to explain it to you, and then didn't really know how to explain it to you with the Two of Swords. I fought with myself all the time about, I should tell you, like, life is not so smooth or anything like that for me. I know it looks just like everything looks good in pictures, but you don't know what the real situation is, or things look good online, but that may not be what somebody's life looks like at all in reality. That is one of those situations where I think he's going to go ahead and, if she's willing to hear him out, he's going to launch into this. I fought with myself all the time about trying to tell you the full story of what my situation was really like. Five of Pentacles. It goes right back to his mindset regarding his finances. He may have been destitute. He maybe had lost everything, ended up moving in with family. His situation might have been humiliating, embarrassing in his mind. He may have wanted to explain some things. Maybe he owed family money because of whatever the, loss of finances were. It's easy to get yourself into a debt that it's like, now I have this obligation. Family helped me at one point when I was, destitute, when I had huge upheaval. Now I can't just let them help me, but then I bail the second I find something else that I want. I may have owed an obligation. Look, they are saying with that Three of Cups in the reverse and the Two of Cups upright, the big wrong in all of this was that they didn't just like fill her in, but they really did fall in love with her. The big wrong was that they didn't, I don't know if they even had a place that they could have like invited her to. It could also be that, and maybe this is blunt, but maybe this is true also, maybe with that Three of Cups in the reverse, they didn't think she'd like their family, or, whatever their life circumstances were, or they thought that even their group or whomever they were, beholden to wouldn't accept her. It could have been that also, and that might be rude or hurtful, but that could have been the case. We have the Four of Cups sideways. They were troubled nonstop by this. They still don't know what the better choice would have been. I would argue, honesty, but they feel like they were between a rock and a hard place, and they feel like this was such a regret that they didn't know what the better choice would have been. Emperor, Nine of Cups. Everything that they wanted to be in an instant when they met her, when they fell in love with her, was, I want to be the emperor. I never wanted that so bad in my life. It was like, that's who I'm supposed to be. What the hell am I being this other person for? This person who's, kind of like a sad sap, who's got all these problems. I was supposed to be able to be with you. It's like a cruel twist of fate that I would meet the right person, fall in love. They fall in love with me. We're supposed to be able to have this life together. This is kind of like, maybe again, they thought it should be a life of luxury. We should be able to take these expensive vacations together. I should have the money to take you places. That's not look, this is the emotional bond. This is withstanding regardless of the money. But if they thought, yes, but to have this perfect relationship where we're together and it's amazing and we're in love, and then our life together is polished and shiny, like the pictures you see in magazines. if this is what they were basing their reality off of, and they're saying, I don't have any of these things, then there's no way I can have this romance. That is really crazy because the romance part was already here. That was the emotional part. That was the real part. Everything else that you imagine life should look like with somebody. Well, guess what? Money's really hard to earn, and eggs are $7.50 to $9 a dozen. So you can't tell me that we can afford this life, tailored suits, and you know how much one freaking drink is nowadays? It's like that's not even possible. So that's ridiculous that it was like, how is it that I cruel fate, I meet you and there's this love, but how on earth would I ever be able to offer all of this? But this is what I imagined my life was supposed to be. And the reality of it is completely opposite. In fact, I'm in a 5 of Pentacles, a huge deficit. And they may have dreamed that she was in this fabulous, maybe she did have more money. They always saw her as the Queen of Wands, somebody who could travel and roam, somebody who was not owned by anyone, somebody who made her own money. And they may have thought, I could never keep up with her. She doesn't know that though. And it was so nice to imagine, like, what, for a moment anyway, what that would be like if I could be the emperor and the two of us have this really fabulous jet setter lifestyle. And, you're so happy with me. And then I just didn't have the heart to tell you that's not what my life actually is. Or reality like came crashing back down. They didn't want her to see their real life. Is that the real reason then? You didn't want her to see the reality because it was so far from the moment. Yeah, it was like, she'll walk away from me anyway. If she sees the reality of what my life actually is, she will walk away from me. She will not be staying with me. Okay. So to save face, is that why you withdrew from her? Or 4 of Pentacles? They definitely left her high and dry. He's admitting this. He is admitting, I thought for sure you would walk away from me. And with that 4 of Pentacles, you sitting there, I guess I thought 6 of Swords, you'd pretty much forget me anyway. You'd be, either way, I was going to disappoint you. Either you'd see what my real life was and you'd walk away, or I'd stop trying to be in your world and you'd get fed up and just move on to somebody who can offer you all the things that who can match you, basically. But with no explanation, I'm sorry, I shouldn't be asking questions. Feminine, what do you want to respond to him with? 8 of Wands with no explanations. Okay. Okay. Look, if her response is the 8 of Wands, and she's real quick on the pickup with that too. You see this like flying through the air, like, excuse me, maybe you should have considered telling me this situation and letting me decide. Why would you decide what I'm going to do, what my reactions are going to be? Excuse me, where was your explanation? Remember, you respect me so much. I'm so great. You love me. So what the hell? How did you not talk to me and let me? How would you think that we fell in love with each other, but only as long as you have money? Is that a bone deep relationship? You can't have it both ways. You can't say you felt like it was a 2 of Cups. I was meant for you. But then, of course, I would drop you like a hot potato if you don't have enough cash flow. How would that be even love? That would be superficial. So you're calling me superficial? she got a mouth on her. Nora, thank you, Angel. Oh my God. Thank you, Nora. You're so generous. Thank you, babe. You're so incredibly generous. Okay, hang on. Masculine, what's your response? Because holy hell, 10 of Cups. He's staying pretty consistent and pretty calm and saying, no, I know that we would have had the 10 of Cups. I know that. You wanted the 10 of Cups with me. I believed that. Knight of Wands. But you were going to think that I was literally a liar and a player, because it's almost like, okay, so this is one of those stories where I think when he met her, it was like he fell into this moment of like sheer bliss. Like, oh my God, she feels like she's my 2 of Cups and we should have this wonderful life together. And it almost seemed like he kind of slipped into this fog of, this is fabulous, this is the life I can have, and broke from reality for a hot minute of like, but wait a minute, that, I mean, there's so many problems that I still have in my life to sort out. And it's like, look, no, I know that you meant it. I know you wanted the 10 of cups with me, just like I did with you, but you were going to think I had been a player if you see what my real life is. And so I didn't want you to see me and think that of me. Like I was lying to you and I was just saying things to you to get you into my arms or into my bed. Empress upright. Well, if you were married, you are a player. What are you saying with this? Hierophant. I don't think that. I think it was that he was so hanged man. How would I? It's like he'd already made what he considered like a critical fail. And then if you started out by not saying exactly what your real scenario was, then how do you explain it? It's almost like, like a runaway cart or something. Things started to move too fast. And then he was like, if I now reverse and say, oh, I don't have any of the money to like live a jet setter lifestyle, or I don't have the ability, like, let's give a scenario. Let's say two people meet on vacation. Okay. When we're on vacation, we usually do things, that are treats for ourselves that are a little bit of excess, right? It's not our day-to-day life. Day-to-day life, we might have to pinch pennies. We might have had to save for 3 years to take a single vacation. But we're like, damn it, I'm going to enjoy this vacation, So I'm going to spend what I saved. I might also use a credit card because I really wanted to enjoy this one. It is a break from reality. This isn't my norm. Okay, but if you meet somebody on vacation and it feels amazing, but now there's like this thought process that, oh my God, they think this is what my life is all the time. It's not even close to that. Now, you go back home and the reality sets in and it's like, oh my God. It doesn't even mean that he gave a false impression that he was some high roller, although he might have to a certain extent. But on the other hand, it may have been more like he couldn't see how he would explain like the real confines of day-to-day life. Now he's back working, 85 hours a week, barely has time to sleep, living on a shoestring. And it's like, but she met me first in my most polished, we'll say, false persona to a certain extent, even though I don't think he was trying to put on a false persona. How do I now backtrack and show her the gritty underbelly of what my life's really made up of? Well, newsflash, everybody's life is like that. Unless you're some billionaire, everybody's life is like that, right? We get dirty and sweaty and we work hard and it's not glamorous. And that's the day-to-day stuff. And then but that's supposed to be enjoyable too, especially if you've got somebody you love that you're doing it side by side with, right? But I just feel like he was saying, but she deserves so much more and she's better off than I am. And how would I then tell her, but hey, I want to marry you, you're my empress. Just, hey, hang out and wait until I scrape together and dust off all the debris from my life. I know you're light years ahead of me financially and all these things. And you're going to basically just think I was playing games with you. You won't believe that I actually have serious intentions because you saw me as one thing when in truth, that's not quite what I am. And you're way beyond me in your own like financial abundance or success or personal freedom or however he views it. All I can say is he had no timeline even on when he was not going to be tangled up. That's how this looks. What is her response to that? Because I mean, I can oh my God, my heart goes out to him honestly right now. Her response. I really like her. Her response is like, that's fucking stupid. You didn't do anything wrong. What is your fault that money's hard to come by? You didn't do anything wrong. I wouldn't have said that you lied to me. Why would you think that? Why do you get in your own head and overthink things? You should have simply been with me. You should have come to see how my life is. You should have joined forces with me. I would not have judged you and said somehow you had lied to me. I never thought you were some high roller. You are the one who decided all that. So you should have just either continued to date me and figure out who I am, or let me see the real you and let me show you what my opinions were. You got in your head and you made a decision that I would never have judged you for. Good for her. She's not taking any of it. She is speaking to him like, point blank, I think. 8 of Swords. She's kind of like getting stuck in her own head now with, this is a lot of flood of emotions, right? This is a lot of flood of thoughts, because we're getting down to basically there was no reason for these two to not have been together. This is stupid that they weren't together already. Okay. Masculine, what's your reaction to her kind of quite blunt energy with the 4 of Swords? It might hit pretty hard that, like, God damn, I left her in silence, wondering what happened to me. I hurt her and left her in silence by herself to try to figure things out. And she would have been happy with my emotions and my heart. Instead, I hurt her. I hurt her way more than I even realized, because I cut her out of my life and like did the punishment with silence thing. She didn't think I cared about her and was trying to, remove myself because I wasn't good enough for her. She thinks I just hurt her for no reason. And I left her sitting there thinking that, when I could have given her my emotions and my heart. And I should have. And that's what I would have done if I weren't, like basically buried under my ego. What are you going to respond to her with? Ace of Cups. I know it doesn't make any sense, but I thought staying away from you was me like loving you because I thought you deserved better than me. I know now that was wrong. I know I should have given you what I could have, which would have been my whole heart. I know I shouldn't have left you, especially in silence and solitude. I should have gone directly towards you and given you everything I did have to offer you. I realize that now. That would have been an expression of love, not retreating. But that's not how I thought of it at the time. It's a damn good answer. And I think that's really straightforward. I think that's a really, really honest answer. And I think that this is him genuinely like understanding it. What's your reaction to that, feminine? 10 of Pentacles. She seems to be quite the realist, doesn't she? She answers straightforward. She doesn't really have too much internal conflict, because her response is, well, you're reaching out to me to tell me all of this. So I'm still kicking and you're still kicking. We're both still alive. So when are you going to be here? I mean, like, it may be that simple. She may respond by simply saying, then it sounds like you should probably come home. It's this very simple, I don't even think she needs to talk about it anymore. It's like, if you're going to be here and we're going to do this, then give me what you got now. You called me to tell me all this. She's just not dancing around anything. Remember, his original comments were like, he didn't have any ego over this, so she doesn't have any ego over this. If the truth is, at the end of this dialogue, even though this feels pretty swift, if the truth is, I just want to, if you're not some terrible monster, then get here and let's do this right this time. I don't see her putting up any front. I don't see her saying like, well, now it's too late and blah, blah, blah. She's just like, so in this case, we have quite a bit of life left. We have the 6 of Cups and we have the Sun card. So what do you say we make this better then, huh? She's not, it's interesting that she says, so you should probably come home then, meaning like I'm home for you. If you mean what you say, and I'm going to take it at face value and say that you do, I'm going to take it at face value and say everything that you've just very vulnerably said to me. If that's all true, then you should be here with me, and let's go ahead and let's just be happy. You know, we're still alive. We have plenty of days above ground. So how about we go ahead and get to the good stuff now? I almost think this is, I don't even know if these two need to talk about this anymore. It's like, can we just start taking the action then that we wanted to a long time ago? What is your reaction? What is your response? Six of Pentacles. On my way. The Six of Pentacles is, I'm ready for this also. The Six of Pentacles is, and there he is again with the King of Swords. This is like, oh my God, we just crossed over the mountain. This is possibly the greatest conversation of his damn life. This is the most important conversation of his life as well. This is what happens when you're true and you're honest with what you really mean to say. You know, if we say the things that we really mean to, you know, the kind of relief that comes with, as I know this has been a lifelong lesson for me. You know, I can be too much of a people pleaser, and I know that about myself. And I've had to really learn, especially like in my 20s, I was not good at all with any kind of boundary. And then, you know, I had to learn to get better. But when I started to really say, I can't say yes to things I mean no to. I don't, because I'll find myself spending a ton of time doing stuff I don't want to do. I don't enjoy it, stresses me out. And finally I started to actually say no to things. And I still find it hard, but the immense relief when you're not going to work all the extra hours on the weekend anymore because you really needed to, you know, you were already at the end of your endurance, but the old me would have still said yes. And, you know, over years, I finally was like, no, you have to say no when it's the end of your endurance. But I would still always have to like justify why am I going to say no? And it, you know, it's hard sometimes to speak up for what your needs are. If you're a people pleaser, it's hard to speak up. And in this case, it was hard for him to speak up because it was about him feeling like I have this disadvantage because I have all these things that I'm feeling inadequate about. I have legitimate, you know, obstacles, you know, that is a hard thing to do, to speak your truth, but the immense relief that comes with speaking something that is true is unbelievable. And I think that this story is such a beautiful message of, we have two people that have really, truly, like neither one of them shied away from very honest responses. Neither one of them put on, you know, like any airs. Neither one of them put up boundaries. Neither one of them let ego get in the way. They just spoke with absolutely nothing other than the truth of what their hearts felt like. And look at how quickly we get things to a place of like actual peace and collaborative energy. And the fact that they stripped everything else away and they just spoke from the heart. And I think although it takes a lot of courage to do it, you know, we stuck with the same deck to go back and forth, and we could have gotten hideous cards. We didn't. We got, like, it really felt like these two were having a conversation because they were actually responding with, you know, like they were on the same thread. You say something, I respond to that exact something as raw and as real as you. I ask you a raw and real question, and you react with a raw and real, genuine, you know, reaction to that topic. They were both very present throughout this. And I think if nothing else, this is a story that kind of reminds us, even though for some reason it can feel really scary to say our truth, life is more accurate and we get more of what we actually want when we speak our truth. Whether it's to say, no, I don't want to work any more hours this week. I'm exhausted. I don't want to be in this building anymore. I want to go home. I don't want to stay late. I can't. I don't want to. You know, those things, it is hard to stop being the people pleaser. It's hard to tell friends, I don't want to go out I love you guys, but I just need a night alone. In fact, I might need a month of kind of some, I got to get my head on straight. You know, sometimes we have to do what we have to do. And I just feel like this is one of those storylines where it's like, wow, as hard as that is to do, that sometimes is the only way to get the genuine outcome. And in this case, it was about love. It was about speaking a conversation that needed to be spoken. I am so happy for these two. It doesn't mean they'll never have problems again, but it definitely feels like these two could actually genuinely. I honestly think that their relationship will be so much better after this because they've already reached the point of like, I'm going to be completely raw with you. You can be completely raw with me. You know, when you have that comfort zone where you know neither one is going to try to like take a shot at your soft underbelly when you show it, that I think is where you have a real relationship, you know, where two people are not out to hurt each other and they both have that trust. I actually really love this one. You guys, thank you so much. It's really good to see you. GOC 10P, Lightning Cast, Lion Queen, Sierra, nice to see you guys. Bradley Bear, thank you so much. Whitman Clan, you angel, thank you for being here, hon. All right, we will get to some zodiac still into this evening, okay? Hi, Tulip. Thanks for being here. SLH, you sweetheart. I'm not crying, you are. You're adorable. Dwayne Anderson, great quote. Love that song. Give me your heart, make it real, or let's forget about it. Little Santana coming in. Man, it's a hot one, like 7 inches from the midday sun. Santana and who? I hear you whispering the words that melt everyone, but you stay so cool. Is that Rob? Yeah. Dion Bailey, nice to see you. The Blue Star. Emily, thank you, hon. Oh, nice to see you, San Juanita. Squishfish. Ashley, great to see you. Annette Summersby, hi, babe. Shout out to you in the beautiful Callaway Gardens area of Georgia. Dwayne, it always sounds so beautiful. I love the way you say that. HASRVIM, hi, sweetie. All right, you guys, I'm going to bounce on out of here. Nora, thank you again so much, sweetheart. Humble Bay, nice to see you. Brittany Francis, thank you for being here. All right, you guys, I'll see you again in a bit and we'll get to some zodiacs tonight. Teddy, hi. Thanks for being here. Marina, nice. You're outside doing yard work. Stay warm, hun. Don't work too hard. FK Slay, Samantha. Welcome, Samantha. Thanks for being here. Cree 73150. Hey, nice to catch you. NH, hi, babe. BM Leave, Courtney Walsh, wonderful to see you all. Chalita in Chicago, Annie S, Monique B, thank you so much, babe. Hi, Jay Bunny. Delighted you made it to a live. And Sonia, Brittany, thank you again, you guys. Sarah, hi, honey. All right, I'll see you guys again in a bit. Bye for right now.